Hello friends, neighbors, John your Whiskey Neighbor here. Welcome down the Nook. Welcome to Saturday. We're still in Irish Whiskey Month, but I am going to talk to you today about a couple Canadians, and the reason is, they're local, close to home, Alberta and BC. It's always good to celebrate that, and they are doing a classic Irish style whiskey, and that is Potstill. Potstill is malted and unmalted barley to beat the tax man. A classic, started in Ireland, Irish style whiskey. But other nations can take a crack at it, and I've got two examples here. We're first going to talk about this one. This is Bridgeland Innisfail. All grains around the Innisfail region or area, that's a town, but talks about that was an Irish Isle of Destiny. I can't pronounce that. So that's why I think they chose grains from that region, and then it's a triple distilled pot still. And then I'll talk about Macaloney's. This is on, of course, Vancouver Island. And this entered a contest world, and I didn't see who they were up against, but in 2023, the World Whiskey Awards awarded this the best pot still in the world. So, we've got close to home, and we've got some world-winning whiskeys here. Both Canadian, but both looking to celebrate Irish-style whiskey. So pour a pot still, or pour a Canadian in this style. I wonder how many else are out there. Anyways, then come on back. 3, 4. Thanks for coming back. As I said, we've got two pot still style whiskeys up here, triple distilled, made in that classic Irish release, but they're both Canadian. I'm going to start with this Bridgeland Innisfail. As I mentioned, actually quite a bit of what I was going to say in the opener, in the sense that, this is made with family farm grains from the Innisfail area. It's got, I think, around 58% malted and, some unmalted. I can't do math on the fly, but I remember it's about 12% oats. I'll put that down below. But it is interesting that there's 12% oats in this mash, triple distilled to be light and fruity. It's released at 41.5, I think, 41.5%. And it's been cast in it just has a variety of casts, American and French, new and used. So there's some virgin oak, some used oak, so ex-bourbon, but the French, I'm not sure what that is. It's natural and non-chill filtered. They both are, and we're going to get to this one later, but this is an example of where I feel natural color helps us understand the whiskey a little bit. For a young whiskey, it's got to be around 3 years, maybe it's a little more. That's still a really nice color, and this is probably also pretty young. They release a lot of their stuff before it could even be called whiskey, and to have that kind of darkness immediately usually tells us a little bit. If there's sherry in there, that would explain it. If there isn't, it talks about, if not age, because we don't have age on here, and it talks about good interaction with char in that oak, because it can pull a lot of coloring out of a wood that way. Anyways, coming back to Innisfail, pot still style. So triple distilled, malted and unmalted barley. This one has a little hit of oats. It's sweet. It's orchard fruit. We're talking, pear and apple, cut light fruits, tarts. Now I said tart, and so now my mind is like, is there a little bit of lemon in there? Well, there might be. It doesn't pull me together like a sour whiskey. That's not what I'm saying. But just that fresher fruits. Light tannins, light oaks, sugars, like a sweet. Boy, what would that sweet be? Oh, and coming back actually remind me like a little bit more of a single malt. Like I got a little bit of a malt sugar, some barley sugars in there. Interesting. So, pleasant nose. Let's see how this one is on the palate. Cheers. It's difficult to get right at the tasting without saying this one has a really nice mouthfeel. So the tasting notes, I get a little bit of light ginger spicing, and I get more cut fruits, but now I am getting more grains, more like when I say grains, like maybe it's the creaminess of the oats, the huskiness of barley. I'm feeling like that right? Actually, this morning I had some oatmeal, and I will say, like, there's echoes of that kind of like, okay, I've got a bit of graininess in here, but it's well done, and especially the mouthfeel. I'll try another sip to see if I can get a few more flavor notes for you. Cheers. This is a nice, light, fresher whiskey. It's, the triple distilled usually tends to mean higher, lighter, sweeter fruits, gentler. I'm really glad. I assume it's the oats, but I really appreciate the better body, the fuller mouth. Well, the mouthfeel will also be the non-chill, because that helps, right, keep a lot of those whiskey oils around in there. And that's especially nice at 41.5, because it means that if I were to put this on rocks, it might cloud up, right? Because we've got those oils on there, and we don't have the higher alcohol to keep them from coming out of solution and being cloudy, which is, I think, the number one reason why they chill filter, is to make sure whiskey looks clear like whiskey should when lots of people splash it over rocks. And if that's how you like it, well, that's fine. But if you do, I'd rather that you just accept that whiskey goes cloudy on ice than everyone filtering out a lot of the flavor, or at least the feel that I think non-chill, like not chilling out those oils, does. This is a good whiskey. It's a light whiskey. It does remind me of Irish pot still. It's cleaner. If that French oak is actually a sherry of some kind, I will say there must be less of that. A little bit more sweet toffees and stuff from the ex-bourbon. Thankfully, there is some oak, some structure. I don't know what it is about new oak, but when you got younger whiskey, I think new oak is a really good idea. This is great. I'm not going to give it a rating. I've only had it for a couple of days, but I will actually say this is an excellent pot still. If you're looking to celebrate Canadian whiskey and also honor Irish Whiskey Month, this would be a fun way to say, hey, Irish good folk brought us pot still style whiskey, and the people down in Bridgeland did a great interpretation of this one. So next up is this Macaloney's Kildara, and I haven't had a lot of Macaloney's, haven't had a lot on the channel, and part of that is the cost. And a lot of the expressions on my shelf that got here early are the not yet whiskey releases. So they are, they just say on their bottle, spirit. So that means they're under 3 years old and they're over $100. That's a tough position for me to say, I'm going to invest in that. I remember when two brewers came out, and I struggled because they were kind of at that $100 mark, a little bit cheaper than these guys actually. And they were like a 5-year-old, I think was the youngest they ever did, 5 or 6, because they went on their beer and then they released their product when it was older. So it's been tough for me to bring home Macaloney's, mostly because what I have in the area is a lot of the spirit, not the full actual whiskey releases. But then I found this just the other day. I went out and here it was. It was a decent price, better than the other ones that I've seen. We're in Irish Whiskey Month. It's a pot still, so it's unmalted, malted barley, nice Irish style. It's got quite a bit of bling. You read on it, it's like it won Best Pot Still in the World in 2023 in the World Whiskey Awards. That's a big honor. And the stuff that I've had have actually been really good. Macaloney's, I have to say, their distillate must be really good because I've only had young and it's really tasty. This clearly has influence of Oloroso and PX. Now, I think it also says that it has some virgin oak and some ex-bourbon, so there's quite a bit of casking going on in this spirit. But let's see what their triple distilled, 40% natural, non-chill filter is like on the nose. This is Kildara. So it's really hard for me to get at the distillate on the nose, in that I really am getting nice fruits, sweet PX, darker Oloroso, light coffee already in the nose, a little bit of, if you're even cooking with chocolate, some unsweetened chocolate. And darker fruits. Well, like when I go past the sweetness, that's really like right away, it's like, woohoo, this is pretty sweet. Darker fruits, like light edge of leather, darker red dried fruits, a little raisin. And just nice. It doesn't burn. It doesn't overwhelm. Especially for 3 to 4 year old, it really doesn't. It doesn't really smell alcoholic. Let's see if I can get more of the distillate when I get into the palate. So, Kildara from Macaloney's. Cheers. This one also has good mouthfeel. Coats well, chocolatey, dark cherry, walnuts. It's actually a bit smoother across the palate. This one, when I talked about ginger, it's got a little bit of spicing to it. When I first had this Macaloney's, I thought, oh, okay, you know, pot still gives me a little bit of nuttiness and spiciness. That unmalted barley tends to give me that little green spice. It's there, but this one's really creamy. Not like the oats creamy, not like that mouthfeel, but it goes across the palate quite well. I better try another sip. Cheers. Just like when the nosing continues, I'll say the palate continues to go into a darker fruits. Darker, leathered, older, dried. And then you get that the interplay of slightly bitter chocolates, a little bit of espresso coffee. That kind of impression is here. I'm still struggling to get at, you know, the distillate. There's a lot of cask around it. That said, this is a really tasty whiskey. It really slows you down because of that. It kind of dries. I get that a lot with heavily sherried whiskeys where it dries off the back end. Some of the pot still spicing does come now, almost in like a light peppering. So that I think you'd recognize, okay, yeah, this is a pot still. I wouldn't say this is a classic Irish pot still. And again, because of all that casking. This is a really good whiskey though, and you know, obviously got recognized at the awards by being such. That's fantastic. I think if you're a classic lighter pot still fan. Now, what would be lighter for me? You know, I really enjoy the green spot line, but probably yellow spot's my favorite in that. This doesn't have that wine influence, you know, that yellow spot has, so it's missing that extra round of fruit. But this is a little closer to that when you think of a lighter Irish orchard fruit, very, you know, and then you get that extra oat mouthfeel. This is leaning into one of my favorite Irish in the world, which is the Redbreast 12 cask strength. This has just a lot of sherry around it, but it's still good whiskey across the palate. It's 46%. It's not the cask strength percent, but it's got enough heft and body into it to be a strong whiskey. Really would depend on my mood which one I would go for. They're both really, really good and really, really different. Very different. Have you had either of them? Have you had this Innisfail here out of Alberta? Have you had the Kildara international winning award here? I don't know. These are some really good Canadian whiskeys. You know, a friend of mine on YouTube just said we don't get a lot of good Canadian whiskeys out there, and I would suggest either of these would help change that opinion. These are quality releases. Good to have in your glass in Irish Whiskey Month. Nothing wrong with good Irish whiskey. We need good partners around the world, and I think we can make good partners with Ireland. We already are, and let's keep that going. Talk to me. Do you like these? Have you had them? What other Canadian pot still whiskeys are out there? Thanks for joining me here. You guys have a good weekend.